Sometimes you're going to give more of yourself than you really think that you have, but there's always a little bit more to give. That's what it means to be fearless. You knowing that you're giving your all so that someone else can reach their fullest potential.
From the Office of Institutional Advancement and Alumni Relations, it's Xavier Gold Live, the podcast, bringing you stories of leadership, impact, and the Xavier spirit. What's new, XU? I'm Tashia Hogue.
And I'm Jalen Jones. We're both student journalists from Xavier's Mass Communications Department and are excited to bring you a podcast where we connect with our Xavier community through conversation.
In each episode, we bring you intimate interviews with standout alumni who will give us a glimpse into their unique Xavier experience.
Join us May 8th at the Hyatt Regency, New Orleans for Xavier University of Louisiana's Centennial Gala, presented by Oxner Health. It's an evening honoring 100 years of legacy, community, and transformation. Our goal? To raise $1 million for scholarships, celebrating the past, uplifting the future, together at Xavier's Centennial Gala. To secure a sponsorship or a table, call 504-520-7575 or email cfr@xula.edu.
What's up, Xavier Rights? February is here, and you know what that means. It's Black History Month. This is a time to honor the rich legacy of Black excellence and Black culture, including the incredible contributions of our very own Xavier alumni.
We're also excited to welcome back all the alumni participating in this year's YMTF, the Youth Motivational Task Force. Your wisdom, experience, and guidance continue to inspire the next generation of Xavier Rights, and we can't wait to have you back on campus.
Be sure to follow us at XULA Alumni on all social media platforms all month long as we spotlight the distinguished alumni who are making a lasting impact in their fields. From healthcare and education to business, the arts, and beyond, Xavierites are out here changing the world.
Stay tuned, stay inspired, and as always, let's continue to embody the Xavier motto where we give our time, talent, and service. Now, let's get into this episode with Tashia and Dr. Reggie Salter.
Today, we are connecting with a prestigious 1995 alumnus, Dr. Reggie Salter, a Xavierite who is a luminary in the field of dentistry, as he serves as chairman on the board of trustees for the National Dental Association. Previously, Dr. Salter has served in leadership in his role as president for Xavier's DMV alumni chapter, but today he serves as the director of admissions at another HBCU, Howard University's College of Dentistry. Let's welcome Dr. Reggie Salter to the podcast.
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
For someone in the role of director of admissions, what does a typical day look like for you? Give our audience just a glimpse into maybe your routine.
A lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of students visiting, because a lot of students want that one-on-one time. You don't know how to get into dental school or how to get into specific school that you are serving. And then on top of that, I have classes that I teach. So I have my students at Howard who also want time. So my days tend to be very long.
As you shape the incoming class of those who want to pursue dentistry, who, are making up those dentists, surgeons of tomorrow, how do you see yourself in the students that you teach and mentor?
I think that's how I try to approach my job. I think about the things that I didn't have. I think about the things that I did have, the things that could have made my trajectory a little bit easier. So I try to offer that, try to be a mentor as much as I can, and just really give some insight. But the main thing is to be honest. I tell the students that I meet, I was so blessed because I was one of those students who went off to college and I knew I wanted to be a dentist, but I didn't know how to get there. And you just have a dream. But Xavier was so structured. The pre-med department was so structured. Dr. Carmichael, everybody, the faculty there. So they really put you on the right path. So a lot of the struggles I see students have today, I was so blessed to not have those struggles just because of the structure that Xavier had.
And what do you typically look for in dental student candidates?
Besides a strong science background, I really look for empathy, not so much as I'm smart and, this is what people have always told me I should do this, I should be a doctor, whatever. But just have empathy for the people that you will serve. You usually can see that in a person's tone. You can see that off of their resume based off of how much volunteerism the student is doing. You can get a glimpse of that student. And then when you interview them, it comes out. You really learn what their true passions are. So empathy for the people that you're going to serve is the main thing I look for.
Yes, and when it comes to service, I know empathy can go a long way, especially in the healthcare field. Given your extensive expertise and active role on the board of trustees for the National Dental Association, what strategies do you employ to effectively manage your diverse responsibilities while ensuring that you stay up to date with the latest advancements in dental care?
From the National Dental Association perspective, our mission is to better serve the underserved community. So a lot of that empathy that I look for in others, especially in students, that is one of the things that the National Dental Association espouse. So when we meet with corporations, when we meet with community partners, when we look with people who want to volunteer with the national or work for the National Dental Association, that's the thing that we want to look for. We look for those people or those entities that will help us take our mission to a higher level. How can we reach those people who are underserved? And then we also have a mission of reaching students who are not represented in the healthcare field. In dentistry, Black dentists in this country is less than 3%. So we're 11% of the population, but only 3% of the entire population of dentists. So knowing that people tend to have a comfort level with a healthcare provider who look like them, who come from that same background, culturally, religious, socioeconomic, we're underserved as a population. And so the National Dental Association really fight to increase that number, giving students the tools that they would need to be successful, not only in getting into dental school, but succeeding through dental school and being a positive impact in their community once they get out. So when I speak to corporations, when I speak to entities who are interested in partnering with NDA, I want to know that that's part of their mission, first of all. If it's in your mission statement, then I know that you at least have a roadmap to carrying that out.
And Xavier is known for addressing those critical needs in society by offering those degree paths that are often underrepresented by African Americans. So how far have we come when it comes to the diversity in dentistry? You just mentioned we only make up 3%, but touch a little bit on that.
We've come a long way, but the path that we need to go is much longer. As long as we are underserved, we are not there. We haven't touched the surface of where we need to be. So when we have institutions like our beloved Xavier who are answering that call, it's a great burden on the university. However, it was the vision of our founder. This is what we're carrying out through all of our alumni and through the students. I love, honestly, in my job, I love it when an application come across my desk and it's from Xavier. So usually when I'm on the admissions panel, I get quiet because I know that those Xavier students, their application will speak for itself. It will speak for what this university has done in the past, what it's doing now, and what it's going to do in the future. So we have a big challenge ahead of us as an underserved people, as a people who are not often heard, as a people who are not economically as stable as other races, to get our students into those realms. But when you have those historically Black colleges and universities who, we take on a big burden, but we're answering the call and we're making the numbers, we're closing that gap. It's not happening as rapidly as we need it or as we want it to, but we are closing those gaps, and that's why institutions like Xavier are so important to this world as a whole.
Oftentimes when you tell people that, you're attending Xavier, they assume you're on a path to become a pharmacist or a physician. So what inspired you to pursue dentistry?
Not being able to go to the dentist. My family just simply couldn't afford it when I was younger, but I had a cousin who lived in the dental office. So I became intrigued. And then I saw a cartoon once, and one of the main characters kept saying, I want to be a dentist. It was the story about Santa Claus, his elf who wanted to be a dentist. I really became intrigued from that cartoon, started researching what a dentist was. And my 6th grade teacher, we had career days. She encouraged me to go visit the local dentist in our town. It stuck with me. It just really stuck with me. Just couldn't shake it. But yeah, I agree. That's one of the reasons why I went to Xavier. I was actually off to another HBCU. I'm from Georgia, so I knew I was going to Morehouse because I was, big fan, still am a big fan of Dr. Martin Luther King, so I was off to Morehouse. And back then we had a show called The Cosby Show. You're probably too young to know that show.
I'm aware.
Bill Cosby would always wear a HBCU t-shirt or sweatshirt. And he just happened one night on one episode to have on a Xavier shirt. I'd never heard of it. Looked it up. We didn't have computers back then. So went to the encyclopedia. And of course, I looked up the wrong Xavier. But I knew that Bill Cosby talked about HBC, or he supported HBCU. So it led me to look further, found the right Xavier. I was hooked. I wrote Dr. Carmichael a letter saying I was interested in pre-med, and he responded not only with a handwritten letter, but a pre-med t-shirt, and that was it. I was sold. I'm like, anybody who would take that much time to send that to a high school kid, I was like, I'm going to New Orleans. Don't know where New Orleans is, but I'm going.
But that also speaks to your initiative for even pursuing to do that research. What is Xavier? What is this HBCU that I'm seeing in this early representation of the Cosby Show? And that speaks also to Xavier's foundation of always pushing forward our community and being inviting, because even when you first get to Xavier, it's just that feeling of welcome to the family. After completing your doctorate in dental surgery, you joined the U.S. Navy Dental Corps. What led you to this route? And just share your initial feelings when you first entered that environment and what you gained from that residency experience.
Dental school was very expensive. I just really didn't want to come out with so much debt. And they had, and they still have, the military scholarships. So I applied, received the Navy scholarships. I wanted to get my education paid for. That's how I looked at it then as a young man. Looking back now as more mature, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because when I went off to the Navy, the experience was so great. The volume of patients, the experiences, the technology back then, a lot of things that we see now that are very common in dentistry were just coming out. I graduated in 95 and graduated dental school in 99. So a lot of the things that are very common in the dental office right now were coming out. And of course, we were able to try those things out in the military. So it was just a great experience for me. So when I came out of the Navy and went into practice, I'm a general dentist. So I did very little referring patients to specialists because of my training. I was very comfortable doing a lot of procedures. So it was outside of the financial gain, just clinically was the best thing that could have happened to me. And the discipline, because as a dentist, you're a business owner too. And that's something, honestly, you're not really taught in college or in dental school, that you're going to be a business owner. You're going to own your own office. You're going to hire your own staff. You go into the dental office, you shadow and you see that, but it never clicks. All you think about is the biology, the chemistry, whatever. So being in the military, being an officer, having people under you who you supervise, etc. So you learn a lot of discipline that really helped as a practice owner.
Celebrate XU Centennial with your Xavier family and friends on one of two extraordinary journeys. From June 28 to July 6, immerse yourself in Spain's vibrant culture and timeless heritage. Or from November 17 to 27, head to Rome, Italy to deepen your faith, savor authentic cuisine, and embrace centuries of tradition. Choose a European journey that speaks to your soul. For Spain, email Demetrius Sloan at dsloan3@xula.edu. And for Rome, contact Nanette Smith at nsmith11@xula.edu. Reserve your spot today.
Well, it's time to take a nostalgic look back at your time at Xavier. So, travel with me. It's 1991, the year where conscious rap is on the rise. It's groups like A Tribe Called Quest shining light on the injustices against our community, especially since this is also the year of the Rodney King beating and riots. Not to mention, this is also the year of the High Tafe era. Okay, so you took your talents to Louisiana and you were Xavier made. You made Xavier your home away from home. Give us that initial feeling and how you navigated through that space.
It was culture shock. First of all, when I got to New Orleans, I'm from a small country town. When it came to city experience, the only city experience I had is when we went to visit family in Atlanta. And because, you're going to visit family, you're still in isolation, if you will. Like you would go out downtown or whatever, but you really never, I guess you say, experience Atlanta. So I was very naive when I moved away from home, first time being out of the state of Georgia. So when I got there, it was really culture shock. Like the interstate, the bypasses, the overhead, that was stuff I'd never really experienced or seen up close. I took the Greyhound there. So when I got off the bus, there was a lot of homelessness, stuff you see on TV or that I saw on TV and I'm seeing in person. And me with no money, literally, the little bit that I had that my church gave me or my family gave me to travel and buy food, I'm giving it to others because I'm just like, I'm going to a dorm. I'm going to have a roof over my head. These people are sleeping. I never, it was just culture shock to me. But then when I got on the campus, because I was a shy kid back then and I was from the South, had a country twang, it didn't dress the best and all that stuff, but I was welcome. Like everybody, like the peer deans, like those, they were upperclassmen. Do they still have that at Xavier?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It was the best. I mean, they welcome you. It wasn't like they didn't make you feel isolated. You felt like you were in a family. Dean Bird, Dean Jasper, these are probably names you don't know, but they were in student affairs. Like they were like our parents. You instantaneously became part of a family. And then when you start to find your tribe, I was in Max, I was heavily in Max, but when you start to find your tribe at Xavier, makes it even better. Everybody knew everybody. One thing I I still do right now is when I meet someone or whatever and I develop a relationship, I always give them a nice strong hug. That was something we did at Xavier. It was crazy, but it was so common. Like you see your peers, whatever, and it's always a hug, You walk across campus and when you go downtown New Orleans, you see people from campus. You may not even speak to each other, but we're from Xavier. So that feeling, that community, because I was from a small town, that was very familiar to me. But the city itself, and I remember I wrote in one of my English essays, and I said something about moving to New Orleans and how fast-paced it was. And the professor wrote, New Orleans fast-paced with a question mark. She's like, where are you from? It was culture shock, but I grew up at Xavier.
I can definitely attest to that culture shock, but more so on the flip side. So me being from Chicago, I came to New Orleans like, what? Like, what's going on?
What's going on here?
But yes, let's lean more into those moments that might have shaped your early expectations or feelings about the journey that you had ahead attending Xavier. Do you have a memory that you like to share of a time where it just captures that essence of your undergrad experience?
So I could think of two that come immediately to my mind. One was my two roommates who are still like my brothers today. And one of my roommates, Terrence, he had an old hoopty that we would ride around in. He used to start that car with a screwdriver or something. No. But I remember us riding around in that car, and sometimes it would be like 6 or 7 of us in that car. But, just having a good time. On the weekends, people would come over to or we had a house together. People would come over and stuff. We'd hang out. But again, that feeling of community. The other thing that really comes to mind is my senior year. 2 days before graduation, we had a huge flood.
With no AC, I heard.
No AC, anything. And
anything that could happen happened.
We were all in panic mode. Would our parents be able to come? Will we even have a graduation? I remember looking out the balcony of our house. We were on the second floor of the house. And I remember seeing the people floating down the street in canoes. My roommate's car was totally covered by water. It was just that much water. That was like on Monday or Tuesday, I think. By Friday, the water had gone down. So people were able to come. But I remember, I'm going to tell this story publicly. I can't believe it. I had not done well in one of my biology classes. And because I was a biology major, I needed a C or above to pass, get my diploma. And I was short because I was always getting to school late, not taking my quizzes. And I remember my professor, she's gone on now, but she had one of my classmates contact me. She's like, tell him to contact me immediately. So I got in contact with her. And she's like, you need to come to campus. I was scheduled to go to campus. If I had taken one quiz that I missed and done well, it would have given me the few points that I needed to get me over the hump. So she was willing to allow me to do that. So that, to me, that's the spirit of Xavier. She chastised me for not, coming to class on time. She talked to me about not living up to my true potential, how I would let my parents down. But for her, and she was very stern. So for her to be yielding like that and to really put me first when I didn't put myself first, like that's the true spirit of Xavier. And so I didn't get to campus to take that daggone test because of the flood. I was panicking. I remember telling my roommate, I'm going to get in that guy's canoe and go up to Xavier with him. And he was like, okay, you going to Xavier and you think she's going to be there? So, but I was able to take the quiz. I think a day before graduation, she factored that into my grade and got my diploma. I'm a Xavier man to the day I die. And I'll never forget that moment. And, hey, look at that. Look at God. It goes right back to what I said in the beginning. That's empathy. So
Definitely. And I think that speaks to just the foundation that Xavier has with those faculty and staff members. And even, like you said, your roommates who are your brothers till this day. They just have a way of forging those lifelong bonds and, that really lasts centuries. Can you touch more on maybe a faculty or staff member? I know you just mentioned a professor, but that without them, no, you just answered that question. Without them, you wouldn't have been able to walk across that graduation stage. So,
where do I start? Dr. Carmichael, Sister Grace Mary, Sister Maureen, Dr. Jordan Stark. Oh my God. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And I tell you, I cannot remember his name. But again, as a young man, I was so angry with this man my freshman year. First C I got was in speech. Can you believe that? But again, I came from Southern Georgia. I had a heavy country twang. And, he really talked to us about enunciation and pronunciation, every letter and every word. And I just could not get it. But it took me longer. But I think about him now, a lot when I'm, have to give a presentation or have to speak. I think about all the things that I'm like, that's a lesson on a C. You can still, doesn't indicate that you didn't learn, just like you said, I wasn't ready at that point. Took me longer. Yep. So if I could remember his name, I would thank him to this day. But man, I just didn't like that man back then.
Yes. And it sounds like you look back on these lessons that you've learned often and apply them to, your current role.
I do. And I a lot of the stuff I do now, especially now that I'm more academic than I am clinical, I do use my Xavier experience. And I'll tell you, the funny thing is when I went off to dental school, they used to get mad with me all the time because I would say, this didn't happen at Xavier, or this wasn't like this. Everybody would get so mad. But I mean, anybody who knows Reggie Salter know that I love Xavier. I'm Xavier down in paraphernalia wherever I go.
Xavier down to your side.
That's exactly. If Bill Cosby wearing Xavier could do that for me, I want to do that for someone else. I want them to see an example. I want them to know about the school. I want to promote the school. I want to support the school. It changed my life,
Well, define what it means to you to press forward and fear nothing through service.
That means you have to put yourself in the gap. You have to really bend. Sometimes you really have to give heavily of yourself. If you think back to what Mother Catherine Drexel did for us and taking her life earnings, if you will, inheritance though, but taking all of that and putting it and giving it to others. She could have lived a totally different life, but her peace, her happiness came from seeing someone else elevated. And that's what it means to be fearless. Knowing that you're giving your all so that someone else can reach their fullest potential. Because, you live, and for me, I live through my patients' success. I live especially through my student successes. So even when I'm going away from here, I hope that I am planting something in them that they can take into their future careers or their families, their lives, and make it better, not only for themselves, but someone else. And so that's where being fearless comes in, because sometimes you're going to give more of yourself than you really think that you have. But there's always a little bit more to give.
And what are your hopes for Xavier's future as it moves fearlessly forward into the next century?
I just hope that Xavier will continue to be the force to reckon with that it has always been. We're one of those smaller institutions, but small in size, but mighty and great in our impact. And I want people to, what my biggest hope is? When you say, I attended Xavier or I'm going to Xavier, I don't want people to say, oh, in whatever state. Or I want it to be known that when you hear Xavier, you think about one Xavier. No offense to any other institution with the same name, but when you think about Xavier, I want people to know that there is one Xavier with one mission that is untouched, and we're unbothered by any other because we're doing what we were perfectly designed to do. I like the fact that we're growing. I love it every time I go to homecoming. I try not to go to homecoming every year, but every other year, definitely during my reunion year. I love it that the campus looks different every time I go back. And I love that the students are smiling, that they're happy, that they talk about they're getting a great education. I love to hear how aspirational they are. If we can continue that, I am going to be forever proud to be a Xavier man.
And how have you stayed connected to the Xavier community or even given back since graduating? And how would you encourage others to do the same?
Well, I tell you, my classmate, class of 95, enough said, man, we stay in good contact with each other. Like I said, all of my dearest friends today, they're from Xavier. We all stay in contact. We all, when our reunion year comes up, we're on the phone. Hey, are we going to the homecoming? We're rooming together. The other thing is just encouraging each other to give back financially to the institution, because that is so very important. Supporting the scholarship, supporting the needs of the students. Definitely when I meet young people who move here to Washington, D.C., who may be going to, especially those in dental school and medical school or graduate school, and they're from Xavier, definitely try to support them. And, just like when I moved to New Orleans and families would invite you to their home, making sure that they feel welcome, that they feel home in their new home away from home. But it's so critically important that we support the university financially. That's important. I mean, you don't have to give $1 million. If you got $1 million, of course, it'd be great to that. But every little ripple in the pond, it makes some effect. And so that's one thing that I always try to encourage all of my friends to make sure that we are supporting the university financially.
All right. Well, now it's time to rush our gold guests into answering a mouthful of rapid fire questions. This segment is called the Live 5, where I'll ask you 5 timed questions I think our golden community would love to know. So let me know when you're ready.
Go for it.
What is the highest number of cavities you have observed in a patient's mouth?
20.
On a scale from 1 to 10, rate a Cafe du Monde beignet.
9.
Finish the sentence. To unwind from a week's worth of study, I like to
have a glass of wine in the tub, listening to jazz.
Your go-to food spot or lounge in DC is?
Ooh, Georgia Browns.
And, we had to ask, DC food scene or New Orleans?
New Orleans.
Well, that wraps up our Live 5 round. And Dr. Salter, it was a pleasure connecting with you again. Outstanding alumnus through conversation. Tell our growing Go community how they can connect with you online.
My Instagram is 06, the number 0, number 6, _ the number 2, TH doc, 062 doc. That's my Instagram. My email is real easy. It's rsalterdds@gmail.com. And I don't have Twitter and all that other stuff. I'm just getting used to Instagram. So yeah, I gotta.
Yes. So follow him on IG. And again, thank you so much for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it.
No problem. It was very nice meeting you. I'm very proud of all of your accomplishment. Keep up the good work. And I can't wait to see where you are in the future.
Thank you for tuning in to the Xavier Gold Live podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Now, XU, you know what to do. Join our growing Gold community on the first Tuesday of every month.
This podcast is available to listen to wherever you listen to your podcast. Do us a favor by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show today. Make sure to also follow us on social media and subscribe to our monthly newsletter.
This is Xavier Gold Live, the podcast where Xavier's legacy comes to life.